He was bright, outgoing, committed, articulate, and very interested in a number of different areas of campus life. And he was also committed to the institution in addition to the students. He was absolutely an educator in his heart and in his soul, and he knew that this was a group of students, and he knew that whom he wanted to support, and this was an institution that had a lot to contribute to Chester, and Chester had a lot to contribute to the university. So I think he was just understanding that there would be a natural synergy between the institution and the community. He had come from the community, and for that, then it made sense. I think that he always understood the classroom to be what counts, but he understood the classroom to include life experiences, and to that extent, for him, learning was going to be a very rigorous endeavor at this institution, but there was going to always be an end goal that went beyond a set of four walls in any building on this campus. I think that he was somebody who understood education to include a sense of community, and let me come back to that if I could. I think that Cav understood there were lots of people on this campus who came from many kinds of backgrounds, and that this university should be a universe that could include many different kinds of people. And there were always going to be insiders and outsiders, but within the community, we should be about educating each other regarding backgrounds, regarding disciplines, regarding goals, regarding the past, present, and future. And for him, a sense of academic community included being in the classroom, as well as extending beyond the classroom to other areas on campus, and in fact, even having students connect to other campuses and other disciplines, other areas of life, other areas of the world. And so for me, the sense of education includes, from the Latin, a and ducare, to lead out. And Cav understood it was going to be about what you did with your education, even once you left this institution and went on. He understood discipline, and that has to be part of education. He never minced words with students about any of that, but he also understood that you learned with a purpose, and that was to return to the community, and that's what he had done. And he then spent his life in commitment to connect the community beyond Widener to this institution, and to connect the Project Prepare students in particular to this institution and beyond, to the wider communities that they would later encounter. He learned very early on to set a goal, and he knew you had to work to reach that goal. And he did that, and he then understood the reward of success. And for him, partly because of his personal background, and partly also because of his educational training and the military experience, there were always allowed explanations, because he knew students in particular were coming from some very difficult situations. So he understood the value of an explanation. And indeed, that's part of being held accountable, is you explain why something happened in your life. But with Cav, there were never excuses. See, and that's the difference. And that, I think, was part of his success in working with students, because they figured out that he would be sympathetic, he would listen, he would share their pain, and then guess what? You got to do anyway. I used to invite the students over to my house for dinner. And when we first started doing this, I said to him, come out to Westchester. My neighborhood is somewhat diverse, but frankly, we were also fairly new to the neighborhood, so I did not know what it would be like to have a bunch of college students, to say nothing of students of color, to say nothing of whatever, but that wasn't any kind of a hindrance or anything. Anyway, so Cav figured out the vans. I had already gone out, and my husband and I and the boys were preparing, etc. And with that, Cav told about how he and the other van, there were two vans, pulled up, and with that, all of the African American students unloaded. And he said there was a police officer in a car who drove up right away and just kind of wondered what was going on, and spoke with Cav. And Cav said to him that this was an academic outing, and that they were going to the house of the Godsall-Myers, etc. And with that, it was all fine. What struck me about that was I really wasn't sure at the time. As I say, I didn't even know my neighbors well enough to know what percentage might be persons of color or whatever. But as he told it, I realized that there was an element of pride in his having managed to get two vans of students to leave campus. And there was an element of pride that in any event, these two vans were of note to the local safety commissioner types. And he was also chuckling about it. He thought that this was humorous. He wasn't up in arms, he wasn't defensive, he wasn't. And I thought, that's very good, because he understands that to create community, and that's what our intent had been, to give the students a sense of they could also go to a faculty member's house, they could enjoy a meal. It was about community. And it was also about perhaps entering into a different community. If I had lived in a neighborhood where even I was the minority as a white person, I think Cav would have had the same sensitivity to understanding when you enter a different community. You have to acknowledge that. And you have to do that with a sense of grace, appropriateness, humor, and just basic respect for one another. And I think that was what was important to him. It was about community. So.